40M does romantic gesture to 34F partner after an argument and it goes awry. How to best understand partner's perspective while preventing possible obs and navigate a conversation about violated boundaries. TLDR. I 40M did what I thought was a surprise romantic gesture after an argument with my partner 34F, but instead made my partner madder because I have been disabled for a long while and not driving because of it, but have been feeling better lately and drove by myself to get the surprise stuff without telling her. Preface. I know it is a lot to ask of an online forum, but please do try to be kind to me and my partner. Some of what you read here might make it seem more negative than I'd like it to be. My mood is not the best right now, but we are both trying to love each other better each day. I love my partner, and she is so good to me. Really, I recognize that given my past said below, I tend to acquiesce to abusive situations. But that's not what this is about for me. We have grown so much together. This isn't about breaking up or anything like that, either. But I am hurt, and I am wondering how bad my part is on this. I also note that my partner is extremely burned out, and I am very hard to live with. I'm not excusing mine or her behavior here. I'm just explaining it. Help me figure this out. So let's do this. Brief description. I 40M have not been driving due to my own choice. I decided that because I wanted to be safer due to health issues I've been dealing with. My partner 34F and I had a disagreement 2 days ago and were still very upset about it. On our first attempt at reunification, we were spending some time together watching our new romantic show. She mentioned several times that she was craving some dim sum, but was too tired to drive. As we paused for her to take care of some things, I drove to town to get her dim sum as a surprise. I've been feeling a lot better lately and wanted to do this for myself and for her. She got very upset that I went by myself without telling her. I also missed calls from her just before I got back and took longer than I thought it would take to return. I understand her getting worried, but she got very angry, said she didn't want to eat the food, was a bit rude, and ultimately went to sleep away from me, which she only does when she is really upset. Maybe 3 times now since we've been together. It's been a day without talking now. That is very rare for us and difficult for people working together. The full detailed story for the ones that like reading. Skip to the end now for my questions if wanted. Background. My partner 34F and I 40M work and live together. Well, she works, and I help as best I can. I do some things to help her run her business and pretty much everything around the house in terms of chores as well as I can. I am essentially mostly confined to the house due to health issues. We generally make a great team. We are companions and great friends, as well as lovers. We have been together for 10 years and have had our share of challenges and many more than that in amazing memories. We've done a lot of recent work on improving intimacy and communication, but it is a journey. We are committed to each other, and both love each other very much. It isn't perfect, but we love our lives together. We had an argument a couple of days ago. The minutiae of the content of that argument isn't important enough to the current story to get into too much detail about it. Perhaps I can elaborate further if the crowd demands it, or if it becomes apparent that I am wrong and it does matter more than I thought. But I think it would be a silly story to tell as arguments between partners who live and work together as partners often are. It was a work thing that got personal, basically. I will have to go in detail about some other stuff, so it is best to leave the details of that argument out, I think. What matters is that the current story happened in the context of her and I both still being really upset about what happened. Well, she was more upset than I was. While I did get hurt, too, I had processed it already and was mostly upset about the distance between us. But whatever, just remember there was a climate of strife in the air. I do want to mention more about my health issues because they are very relevant to me being here. Recently, I have become disabled by worsening symptoms after a car accident 3 years ago exacerbated a previous back problem I had, leading to severe chronic pain. While it changes over time, at times, it is so bad that I cannot function as I normally would at all. I am, or used to be, a highly functional neurodivergent person autism. As part of that, I struggle with emotional awareness, both of others and my own, as well as with emotional regulation. Strange, novel, or extreme sensory stimuli, including pain, can cause me to become very fixated and or dysregulated. So chronic pain is not a great thing. Feeling like you are being stabbed or burned alive, in general, but especially for someone with my particular brain. In addition, unfortunately, I was a victim of physical, emotional, and abuse as a child, easy target and in previous relationships. So, I have also dealt with an unspecified trauma disorder for a long time. But I've had a lot of help and support in life, too. I was okay for a while, even after the accident. I had a job working from home. I was able to do it well. However, I was laid off last year. That was supposed to be a good thing because I wanted to quit anyway. My partner needed more help to grow her business, and the stresses of the job were affecting my mental health. However, some time after being laid off, my mental health actually got worse. Likewise, and perhaps in association with it, my pain got a lot worse. I got very anxious and depressed and also have been experiencing seizure-like symptoms that we now think appear to be psychogenic in nature. While we are not certain, it appears that increased physical pain and emotional distress have come to overload my brain such that essentially, I have dissociative episodes, hallucination-like daydreams, and body shakes that cause sudden loss of consciousness. I've always had similar symptoms to some extent, but never as bad as they have gotten recently. At first, we worried it was a recurrence of a brain tumor I had years ago. But we have ruled out that and epileptic seizures. With my mental health history and physical pain, it makes sense that it is psychogenic. For safety, I have decided of my own accord to stop driving for the past 6 months due to the worsening of my symptoms. Needless to say, it is not wise to drive if you can suddenly lose consciousness. I still have an active license. Legally, I could technically drive since I don't have an official epileptic seizure diagnosis. However, my state requires by law for me to disclose my disability and acquire a doctor's opinion that could lead to restrictions to my license. Anyhow, even without a doctor involved, the episodes were bad enough that I decided I would stop and tell my partner as much. She was relieved and agreed, so I've been confined to the house unless I get a ride, including for medical appointments. I also haven't been able to work as I used to or see friends. I live in a remote place, so driving is a must to do anything. I do get to take beautiful nature walks when my pain allows or I manage to not care. I'm doing treatments to get better, including pain management, physical therapy, psychotherapy, neurofeedback, several pain and psychiatric drugs that basically numb me, and I am exploring potential surgery now. It is working. I am slowly getting better. I am a lot better than I was 6 months ago. Well, I feel bad still and especially today because of this, but much better. On the previous argument, this section was added later for more context on that issue for those interested. So, my partner and I were pretty I stand since the situation we had 2 days ago. To be clear, I don't exactly fault her for being upset about the thing that happened. I basically made a careless mistake on a work thing that was important for her. Nothing bad actually happened, but it could have perhaps, especially if I made a habit of it. It wasn't on purpose, and it was a one-time thing. I apologized, but I didn't like the way she was handling it in terms of how she was talking to me. So, per a previous agreement we made to avoid bad communication, I walked away. But she wasn't done, and I am sure she felt that I dismissed her. I probably should have said something first. Something like, "You and your concerns are very important to me, but I am feeling anxious and unsafe right now, so I would like to continue this conversation at a later time. I don't want you to feel sad. I know you need to be heard and need to feel safe trusting me, so I will bring it up. Or you can if I don't by tonight. Exit stage." Or I could even just have said, "I need some time." I recognize that what she was upset about and her feelings were valid, and I wish I had the spoons to have said something. But I just exited without saying anything in the middle of her raising her voice. In the past, I have said things carelessly in such situations due to my emotional status and unawareness of it, that I saw later as bad choices that escalated the situations. A few times, with this and previous partners, I have been a victim of aggression. It is a common pattern for neurodivergent people and victims of which, unfortunately, I am. But I've done a lot of work in therapy on this. And I've decided that if I am not sure I can say the best thing, saying nothing and temporarily walking away when I feel unsafe or anxious is better. So, with this partner, I have made a deal to help us both feel safe and avoid violent communication, or worse. It is okay to want and ask for space, even to leave temporarily. And that should always be honored with the knowledge that issues can be brought up again later when things are calmer and should be done as soon as possible and preferably by the person ending the interaction. This is a boundary for both of us. We have struggled with it before. But since we don't want the other to feel like whatever they have to say doesn't matter in such scenarios, we preemptively made an agreement recently that if we feel that the conversation has gotten to a place where it can potentially cause hurt or is already causing hurt, that we can leave immediately but should try to remind the other in the moment of this deal. I suggested using a funny safe word like pepperoni, that just means, "I recognize this is important to you, and we can pick this up soon, but right now, I need a break and some space. But we also agreed that until that becomes a habit, we couldn't promise or expect that. It is better to leave than be mean to each other. We would promise though that it is okay bring it up again, if needed, when things are calmer for both, as soon as possible, and that the person who ended it should do it or be okay with it being brought up again within a day if they don't say they need more time. If we can't talk calmly together, we find a mediator like a therapist to help us. Now, being autistic and having severe trauma, even realizing I am not calm before I explode, is an achievement for me. Regulating enough to leave is amazing. Someday, I'll be better using a safe word or saying something like I suggested above. Or even stay without contributing to escalation, I hope. Either way, I am working on respecting and advocating for boundaries better. Anyway, I left mid-argument. After I did that, she felt hurt even more. She was mad about my mistake and about me leaving when she was basically scolding me about it, or so I felt. It was a pretty important thing for her. I did mess up. It is hard for me to establish new habits. It's harder than for most. I can be absent-minded sometimes, but she needs to be able to trust me to work with me, and this kind of stuff makes her not trust me, even when I do a lot of other amazing jobs. It's a lowest hole that sets the water level of the bucket kind of thing. And me leaving made her feel like I was dismissing her concerns, which wasn't my intention. I just didn't feel safe in the situation. Taking criticism is already hard for me since I am very critical of myself already, and I am not exactly emotionally stable right now. If someone reacts emotionally to raise their voice too, I get overstimulated, and my abuse trauma also kicks in. It is very easy for me to feel anxious in those situations, and I tend to react in ways that make it worse. Putting distance until both people can talk calmly is better. Otherwise, it is easy for things to escalate into violent communication or worse. I get very dysregulated, and that tends to test the patience of the best people. Despite a lot else being amazing in our relationship, this has unfortunately been a pattern for us at times. I recognize that it is frustrating, difficult to live and work with someone like me. I am very quirky, intense, and clumsy. My partner is actually amazingly empathic and patient. But after a while, it is hard for anyone to be patient, especially with repeated or serious social or professional blunders. Still, I have the right to protect myself from further trauma. It is okay to be angry. It is not okay to be hurtful because of it. So I feel that leaving was okay. Ironically, I can be the kind of person to get fixated when the situation is reversed and I get upset. I tend not to respect others' needs for space, especially if others tended to avoid dealing with it later in the past. I get anxious about not resolving things. I don't like building up resentment and feel that if I don't address something right away, it is difficult not to. I have also done work in this area and have been a lot better about letting go of smaller things and even bigger things without resentment through journaling, meditation, and therapy, and this time trying advice from strangers. I did work to better recognize people's desire for space and to respect that more, especially with my partner. In return, my partner, with whom I had such issues in the past, has tried to make sure to bring up conversations that she ends prematurely and to stop conversations without just walking away, but practicing empathy and compassion. She still needs a lot of work on that last part. Hope you see some irony here. She tends to be one that leaves abruptly. I used to chase her or block her path. Big no. She would get aggressive sometimes when I did that. No excuses, not okay, but she felt cornered and exacerbated by this completely dysregulated person. I used to be that guy who knocks repeatedly on a locked door. It can be funny on TV, but in real life, it is aggravating, especially when you lock the door to get away. That doesn't make aggression or raised voices by her okay either. But I understood without excusing. We don't do that much at all anymore, and it was exceedingly rare to begin with. We had maybe 5 or 6 bad fights in our years together. Nothing that caused injury or damage, but toxic and traumatizing just the same. We had some more times that could have gotten worse, but we got lucky, and one person cooled down. Anyway, we both have done a lot of work to transform ourselves and improve our relationship. We have forgiven each other, done work to heal the trauma, gone to therapy, worked on intimacy, and learned to communicate better. But applying it always has continued to be a work in progress. Sometimes, we fall on old habits. To a lesser degree, but still, anyhow this time she was the one upset that I left to protect myself. The current issue. After the disagreement, situation 2 days ago, there was some drama in the air. She was pretty much doing everything she could to interact with me as little as possible. She definitely ignored me a few times when I tried talking to her, and in a couple of others, she said to leave her alone or go away. She never explicitly said that she needed space to process or to cool down. I struggle reading signs of that, which for other people would perhaps seem obvious. And I was craving to reconnect with her, so I was in a biased state of mind. But the things she ignored me about were trivial. I didn't really try to start a conversation about what happened. The cold shoulder, so to speak, hurt, but I realized that she needed time to process. I tried my best to respect that, but there was one moment in the middle of the day yesterday when she got really angry because I insisted in asking how long she would go on like this. Not smart. Old habits die hard. She yelled that I had left her yesterday, so now I had to deal with it. This made me understand her better but also hurt more. A long time later, after a tough group therapy appointment, I sent her a text. She was overwhelmed with work that I usually help her with but felt uneasy about contributing without her permission after what happened 2 days ago. She got upset that I made a mistake after all. I had already apologized during the argument itself, for the mistakes I had made that originally made her upset. Further, I did not think that me leaving when she was lashing out in anger about them then was a bad idea. I still think it was a healthy boundary setting by me. I wish I had done some things differently, like using a safe word, at least. Nonetheless, I still said I was sorry again in the text. I am used to making first moves towards reconciliation. I said that I was sad that my actions contributed to her feeling hurt. That I didn't mean to do that. I said that I wished I had said why I was leaving with compassion first. Because I also pressed too hard earlier in the day, I also said that I was sorry that I didn't understand her need for space fully sooner. I said that I know she doesn't like having these talks over text and I should have probably established consent first, but that I hoped she could give us a space to communicate soon, in person, when she was ready. I also said that I saw how overwhelmed she was. She's been working really hard lately and usually has some help from me, and that I wish I was supporting her. That I loved her and missed her. Even though that was a nice message, it was probably too long for her to handle with the few spoons she had today. She hates talking about this stuff over text, too. In a way, doing it without asking first was a violation of a boundary in my part. She's asked for that before. I was impatient and desperate. I should have given her more time. Old habits die hard, but she responded, asking me to watch our favorite romantic show together. I felt elated and saw this as an olive branch. Quality time is a shared love language for us, and we consider watching that show a kind of date. I accepted after saying I needed half an hour to finish journaling and meditating. I do that daily now. We got together and watched the show for a while. She was exhausted, I could tell. During the show several times, she talked about wanting some dim sum. Did we have any? Could we get any? I invited her to a date to our favorite place the next day. She said she'd be tired tomorrow, but maybe the day after. I made dinner. She said she didn't want any. She said she wanted dim sum again later. I said we could go tonight. She said she was too tired and had not stopped all day. She didn't say it but also knew she is burned out, stressed about an upcoming thing this weekend, and is also now upset about our situation. One of our dogs was sick, too. She was so spent. At one point, she said she needed to do something. I said, okay, I'll be back, too, if she could entertain herself for a while. In a calculated decision after a romantic impulse, I raced to my car, which I haven't used in months, due to the health issues mentioned above, and drove to town. The treatments I have been doing recently have been helping a lot, and I have had many fewer episodes. I also usually can tell before they happen. I felt confident I'd be okay. I needed to do this for myself. I wanted to feel less disabled and wanted to do something nice for her, especially after she got hurt. For months, I've been isolated, but I've been feeling better. In a moment of pure romantic drive, I decided to take the risks. My car also self-drives to a great extent. I felt safe. I knew she may get worried and I wanted to surprise her, so I didn't tell her. It took me longer than I thought it would to get all the stuff we needed. Haven't done groceries in a while and felt good doing that too. Getting out of the house on my own. I also had to get gas. She called me twice, but I didn't see it. I was blasting music on the radio and then muted the sound to focus on the way back. It is very dark where I live. I was happy for myself, proud. I forgot I was sick for a while. Just after I missed her calling for the second time, I pulled up with the groceries. I said I had a surprise for her. She didn't say anything. I figured she was tired. But she was trying not to explode, or so she said later. She asked why I didn't tell her if I drove myself, and why I didn't pick up the phone. I looked at my phone, surprised. I told her I wanted to do something nice for her and felt good about it. I didn't realize then that she was mad. I thought she was just worried. A few minutes later, I prepared the meal while she walked our dogs. She said she didn't want the food and that she was mad that I did what I did. That it was stupid and dangerous. That she was trying hard not to explode. That I took 3 hours. It was half that long, but I get that she was mad and exaggerated. I said I had left at sunset, so as to imply it hadn't been 3 hours. She got madder that I got defensive and didn't just acknowledge her feelings. Though to be fair, she never asked me what she needed in the conversation, if you could call her upset communication that. She just galloped a lot there, and I got lost and responded to the last thing she said. I didn't mean to be defensive, but I also was technically right and get bothered by specifics sometimes, especially when I don't stop to breathe and think before speaking. Recognizing a dangerous and escalating situation, I thought of leaving again, but given what happened 2 days ago, I stayed and remained quiet. I am proud that I even noticed that. She eventually finished with the dogs and got up to bed without saying a word. She did the same yesterday night after the other situation but slept in our bed at least. I was shocked. I thought she'd be happy and proud of me. I figured it was my decision not to drive in the first place, and I knew myself better to know I'd be fine. I haven't had episodes in a while, but I can see why she got upset. I respected her need to walk away. I stayed and cleaned up dinner. I packed it for later. She ended up eating some in the middle of the night. I finished putting the groceries away and went up too. I should have noted she may have needed more space, but she didn't really ask for it, and I, at even obvious nuance. I met her in the bathroom, getting ready for bed. I usually don't wear clothes at home. I am a naturist, and the clothes hyperstimulate me sometimes. I always sleep naked, but I had clothes on from the shopping spree. I took my clothes off to shower. She immediately looked at me and said she couldn't sleep with me tonight and asked me to go do so in another room. I felt suddenly ashamed of being naked, which was totally new for me, especially with her. It seemed she reacted to me getting naked to say that. I felt hurt. I jumped into the shower and said I wanted to be with her and preferred to sleep in our comfortable bed due to my pain, but that she could go since she was the one with an issue. She said fine with a tired and defeated tone. Frustrated, I asked her why she preferred to linger in anger rather than just work it out and talk to me. I should have left it alone. She was clearly upset. Bad timing. She shouted, "Work what out?" I immediately felt scared in a trauma response. I said, "Nothing," with loud frustration and closed the shower curtain. I shouldn't have said that. I should have said that her response made me sad and that I wanted to reconnect. She left. I cried in a way that my meds hadn't let me in a long time. I took a cold shower and meditated to calm down. I decided she could rest in our bed, remembering she was exhausted. I could sleep in the RV that has a great mattress too or sleep tomorrow since I would probably have trouble sleeping now. She was not in our room when I got out. I went downstairs to our spare room to tell her she could have our bed. Should probably have left it alone. She shouted for me to go away. I asked if she heard my offer, though. I should have just gone away. She said, "Go away, now." Louder this time. I froze like a deer in headlights. Trauma response. I snapped out of it. Sad, I ran away to bed upstairs. But I couldn't sleep all night. Typed this up as a journal. I feel better now, but I wonder, maybe I should have talked to her about feeling better lately first and if she would like if I could go get her the food she wanted. Maybe it was wrong for me to drive at all until I know with greater confidence that the episodes are truly a thing of the past rather than just much rarer and with more warning. Maybe spending more time together watching the show would have been better than starting another issue trying to be nice. For sure, I do feel bad that she is hurt, but I have already apologized again and admitted that accepting the limitations that come with my disability is hard. Questions. Obviously, this is told from my perspective, but I tried to be honest. What do you think about me trying to do something nice she didn't really ask for that ended up worrying her because it could have involved some risk to myself and others? I obviously miss her and want to talk, but I want to respect her space. I keep failing to do that properly. I feel she also did the same 2 days ago. 2 wrongs don't make a right, but it seems that we both struggle with it. She still isn't talking to me. A full day later. This is exceedingly rare. I am inclined to just write her a nice note saying I miss her and love her. And then wait. She has a big day tomorrow and has to focus on that anyway. If it goes well, she may be in a good mood. If it goes badly, she may need comfort. I'll be ready, no matter what. But if it is waiting longer, that is harder. I got some fun things planned to do for myself in the immediate future, if that's the case. I know I wrote a lot, but I don't mean this as a rant. I just wanted to give sufficient context for specificity, a neurodivergent trait that is annoying for a lot of people. Hopefully, my brief description was enough for most. I already get a lot of great professional help. I'm looking more for ideas from other people that can relate, may have insight, or want to chime in as a friend would. I do need help with the next moves and better understanding her possible perspective. That is hard for me. I also worry about being trapped in an abusive cycle and not noticing. Finally, I am struggling to let go of the fact that she expects me to respect a boundary that she seems to struggle with herself. How do I best navigate a conversation about making sure we both do better in respecting giving each other space instead of escalating things?